Do you ever find yourself up late watching those infomercials and buying hundreds of dollars worth of appliances you don't need? Order yours today, and if you act now, we'll throw in whatever this thing is. Well, this could be caused by something called decision fatigue, and a recent Cambridge University study showed that this can cost some organizations about $500,000 a year. How much is it costing you, and how do we fix it? Hi, my name is Tyus. I make videos about freedom, personal liberty, escaping the rat race, and if you have not yet done so, hit the subscribe button below, hit the little bell icon if you want to be informed when the next videos on this channel come out. This video is going to be all about decision fatigue, which is the idea that if you make a lot of choices throughout your day, the quality of the choices you make, they decrease over time. Basically, you get worse and worse and worse at making decisions the more decisions you make. And this has some major consequences. It causes people to make bad trade-offs, irrational trade-offs. A study at Stanford University showed that it makes people do impulse buying. And a Princeton University study showed that it is a major factor in what traps people in a state of poverty. Now, we're not just talking about what decision fatigue is, but more importantly, how do you counteract it? How do you live life knowing that this is a factor that you must contend with? Well, you could create a very complicated strategy, but that's not a good idea, because the more you think, the more you kind of process, and the more you've got to work psychologically, the worse decision fatigue gets. So you actually want to reduce it. You want it to be really, really simple. A strategy is a bad idea. What you need is something that happens automatically, something that we already have built into us, something like habits. We already have habits. We just need to make sure that we create habits that have three primary characteristics. We want those habits to be simple, we want them to be easy, and we want them to be automatic. The first habit to put in place is to make sure that you schedule your choices, the times when you've got to make big decisions, at points in your day where you are not tired or hungry. It's been shown by tons of studies that having sleep deprivation or being tired is going to dramatically impact your decision quality, so it's not the right time to make any life-changing decisions or make big purchases or anything like that. You don't want to be in the middle of a big negotiation when you're exhausted, but you also don't want to do it when you're on an empty stomach. I don't mean that you should eat right before you make a big decision. However, your brain does run on glucose, which is just a fancy word for sugar, or it could run on ketones, but that's another discussion. The point is, you make decisions best in early afternoon. That's when people make their very best decisions. When they've had a little bit to eat, it's digested a little, but they've got some blood sugar, they're not exhausted, so they've woken up from the morning, and that's the best time to make decisions. So the first habit to put into place is to schedule any big decisions, any large investments of mental energy, of psychological energy, put that right in early afternoon. The second thing to adopt is to decrease your options. And you might be asking, well, aren't options a good thing? And of course they're a good thing. It's good to have options, but you want to have them at the time when it's best for you. Too many options throughout your day on unimportant things just make up for more decision fatigue, which is what we're trying to avoid. And you want to avoid this specifically early in your day. The earlier in the day, the more this adds up to being a problem later in the day, where your quality of thought and questions and decisions drops. So a lot of people early in the day have the same cup of coffee, so they don't have to make decisions on what they're going to drink. They roll out of bed and they grab that cup of coffee that they're used to. Some people eat the same breakfast, but a lot of people eat the exact same food throughout the day. And in fact, a lot of those people that choose to have the same meals every day throughout their day are some of the most successful people on the planet. So for example, the author Tim Ferriss, who I'm a big fan of, or the actress Eva Mendes, or Ben Affleck, or Cindy Crawford, or Jennifer Gardner, Puff Daddy, or Diddy, I'm not sure which name he prefers at this point, the old man Willie Nelson, or Martha Stewart, Kim Kardashian, all the Kardashians for that matter, Mariah Carey, Stephen Curry, which happens to be my favorite type of curry, they all eat the exact same meals every single day so that they don't have to make decisions on what to eat. They don't think that's an important part of their day, so they don't worry about that. Another example of ways to eliminate choices is to wear the same clothes every day. This has been adopted by a lot of incredibly successful people. For example, the entrepreneur Steve Jobs, he's my old boss. The evil genius Mark Zuckerberg, the political mastermind Barack Obama, and the incredible world leader from America's Got Talent, Simon Cowell. They all wear the same clothes every single day so that they don't have to make decisions. Now, if you're thinking about doing something like that, you're like, I don't want to change my entire wardrobe. You can start small. You could start by just saying, you know what, I'm only going to buy the same underwear, so I don't have to even think about what underwear I'm wearing. Nobody's gonna see it anyways unless you're a very lucky person. Or you could just buy the same kind of socks, so you never have to match them up and make unnecessary decisions on which sock matches up with this one. Don't burn that mental willpower, that mental thought process early in your day. Let's get it out of the way by reducing the amount of decisions you have to make every morning. The next good habit to do is to set up routines for your life. This helps remove the decisions because it's just a routine. You're just doing what you do every single day. And if you haven't set up a morning routine, it's something that is highly recommended by almost everybody who's successful, has a really great morning routine. If you don't know about morning routines and need to learn more, I made a video on them, which is linked right up here, so you can check that out if you want to learn more. I won't go into crazy detail because I already did in a previous video. If you're looking about creating a routine for the rest of your day, well, that often comes in the form of a to-do list. It's a really, really great way of kind of outsourcing the decisions you have to make to your past self. You don't have to worry about making the decisions right now because you already made them in the past and now you're just following orders. I also made a video on the perfect to-do list, how to create a really, really great actionable to-do list with priorities and all that good stuff. Again, linked up here because I like creating these links and I don't want to have to repeat what I've already put in previous videos. And lastly on routines is creating a good evening routine. Now, for me, the evening routine is where I journal, but it's also where I write out that to-do list that I just mentioned. It's also fantastic for triggering yourself to go to sleep. It kind of sets in motion my body going, oh, you know what? You're going to pass out in a few minutes, and it sets me up for that, so I sleep really soundly. The next habit to adopt is to be very definitive in the choices you make. What you don't want to do is rehash decisions you've already made. Michael Jordan once said that once I made a decision, I never thought about it again, which is a fantastic way of thinking. He's a very definitive person. Once he makes up his mind, he sticks with it. So how do you do that? Well, there's two really easy techniques that helps you be really definitive in the choices you make. The first one is you want to make your decisions really, really small. And the way you do that is you take big questions and you make them small questions. If you had a question that was like, do I want to marry this person? That's a huge question. That's a lot of decisions need to be made to actually come to that conclusion. So don't think about that giant question. Break that question up into smaller pieces. Be like, you know what? Do I want to go get coffee with this person? That's a much smaller question that's easier to answer. If you line up and chain up enough of those questions, maybe the do I want to marry this person answer will answer itself for you. So make the question really, really small, or take that big question and break it up into smaller questions so it's easier to answer. You want small questions to answer so that you can answer them faster, which is the second trick. You want to answer your questions as fast as possible. Now, how do you answer a question as fast as possible? Well, you use your intuition. We have a kind of jump to conclusions mechanism in us where we see something and we kind of want to have a response already for it. Now, intuition can sometimes be a really good thing and can sometimes be a really bad thing. Intuition is a bad thing to trust when you're making a very long-term decision, or a big decision, a giant decision. Should I marry this person is a very big, long-term decision. You wouldn't want to use your intuition on making that decision because you don't want to just be like, oh, I'm going to jump into this because my hormones are telling me to. Bad idea. Don't do that. But when it comes to small decisions, when it comes to the decisions like, hey, should I get coffee with this person? Follow your intuition all you want. Your intuition is actually really good when it comes to tiny decisions and really bad when it comes to big decisions. So make the questions nice and small, then trust your intuition, and you'll get to the answers faster. Now, one thing that a lot of people push back on when it comes to being decisive is they feel that means they can't change their mind. And that's not really the case, but you want to change your way of thinking about changing your mind. You don't want to double think your decisions or regret what you've decided. What you want to do is if you make a decision and it doesn't work out, it's totally fine to change direction, but just think of that as a new decision you made. Hey, I tried going this direction, it didn't work out, so I changed paths and I went down this direction. That's not being indecisive, that is making two separate choices. The next habit to adopt is to set time limits. You can block your day off into time chunks, into sections, into quadrants, into whatever increment you're comfortable with. Use a calendar for this, it will help you out a lot. Now, if you're using a calendar, one thing the calendars are great for is it tells people when they're going to have events happen. Often people don't write when they're going to have something completed by, and those deadlines are really, really useful in getting things done. Too often people will start something and never finish it because it's never good enough. They're striving for perfection, and in striving for perfection, I can't talk all of a sudden, and striving for perfection, it never gets finished because it's never good enough. Well, they say perfect is the enemy of good. So by having a deadline in place, it forces you to finish a task, which essentially sets a time constraint and means you don't have to make more decisions than are necessary. Another thing you can do regarding time is keep in mind that time is related to locations. If I were to say, hey, meet me at 4, your response would be, meet you where at 4? Because we can't really go to a place without having a time, and we can't go and meet you at a time without knowing the place we're meeting you. Space-time connection, you know, Einstein talked about it. So you can use this space-time thing to your advantage in setting deadlines. So for example, if you were reading a book, but you only want to read it for 30 minutes for a day, well, start reading 30 minutes before sunset and read outside. As the sun sets, you will run out of light, and then you'll have to stop reading. Or maybe you want to work in a cafe for 30 minutes. Well, if you walk in 30 minutes before the cafe closes, you know you've only got 30 minutes of time to work before you are booted out of the place. These are all great ways of managing your time so that you don't run into more decision fatigue. Okay, so let's recap this real quick. Here's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we schedule the choices we have to make at points in our day where we are not tired or hungry. Usually early afternoon is best. We want to decrease the amount of options we have, follow a routine whenever possible, be definitive with the choices we have, and set time limits. Now, I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please hit the subscribe button if you have not done so already. If you haven't shared this video, share it with somebody that is like-minded or would enjoy it, and I hope to see you on the next one.